guys, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing what I hope is a very fun video. I've actually never done something like this before. Never even thought to do this before. Until I saw Lindsay from BFCG and Celestia do this sort of idea of book buzzwords. I think also Book Lover Amanda did something similar, possibly last year. I don't remember. I know at least 3 people have done this type of video before. So, yeah, I've never thought of that for me before, of like, basically, if you don't know what it is, because I didn't know what it was at first either, a book buzzword is basically like a certain, like, say, genre or trope or just something in the book that is mentioned, like somebody tells you about it, it's in a review, a description of the book or something that makes you really interested. It's basically just something that you just get very, very interested in, and you definitely want to check that book out. So yeah, I never really thought of it before. I mean, once I knew what it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I probably do have some. But yeah, definitely had to think about this for a minute because I decided to try to do this video. Obviously, that's what this is. So yeah, I have a list here. We're just gonna go through it. There might be more, like, this is just stuff I came up with yesterday because I wasn't really sure if I even had any, but I obviously do. So yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it. Most of these I think are like genres. I don't know, we'll see. The first one I have is urban fantasy, clean urban fantasy to be specific. And yeah, this basically came up because of Cam Shia's Magiford universe. I really love those books. There was also The Dragon of 23rd Street by Kenley Davidson. I really like those books. They're just urban fantasy, which is basically just like, it started its life out as being known as paranormal romance. So, that is another name for it. So yeah, that type of thing with like vampires, werewolves, fae, just like basically magical type, gothic type creatures in a modern setting. So basically it's like contemporary with magic. So yeah, but those were the 2 series that really got me into it, and I've definitely been interested in reading more, but the problem with this genre is that it is not clean usually. The urban fantasy, paranormal romance, those are usually like have the most adult content. Like, you can just tell from like the covers or the descriptions, and it's like, okay, no. But yeah, there aren't very many clean ones, and then if there are, they're usually just like, I hate to say this, but not very well written. So yeah, they generally tend to be the more like, sort of like, I don't even know if pulp fiction would be the correct term. They're just like, just cozy like type stories, I guess. I'm not really sure, or they're just not very well written. So I don't usually like them. If I have tried them, yeah, so I'm always open for if anybody knows of any clean urban fantasy that's like well written. Yeah, drop them in the comments because I'd love to know if there are more of them out there. Obviously, I've read all of Cam Shia's Magiford books, and like I said, The Dragon of 23rd Street, and I'm slowly working on The City Between by W.R. Gingle. I think that one's pretty much clean. It has more violence, but for the adult content, it doesn't have anything as far as I know. So yeah, but yeah, that's definitely the first one. But yeah, that one's like the hardest one to find. The next one I have is Rapunzel retellings. I also have fairy tale retellings on here. Yeah, I generally am going to check out any type of fairy tale retelling that sounds interesting. Definitely, if there are Rapunzel retellings, I will most assuredly check those out. Usually, unless there's something in them, like some sort of content or something where I'm just like, yeah, no. Yeah, all of these come with stipulations of, I am an extremely picky reader. So if I feel like something has a content thing or some other type of thing, like, I guess you would call it an anti-buzzword or something in it, I'm not going to read it, no matter if it's interesting in one of the other ways, just because I know those things are just going to kill it for me. So yeah, with all of these, I'm extremely picky. So anyways, but yeah, Rapunzel retellings, fairy tale retellings, I would definitely check out pretty much most of those, because yeah, I just really like those. Fairy tale retellings, I have noticed I'm getting a little pickier on. Like, if there's just more of the fluffy type variety, I generally don't like them as much. Depends on my mood too, so who really knows. Next one I have is Spiritual Warfare. Yeah, I have noticed I've liked this from the very first Spiritual Warfare series that I read, which was Angel Eyes. Yeah, I really dove into that one. I really like it. In other types of books, again, that cross spiritual warfare, I generally look for Christian spiritual warfare, because there are other books out there that are about like angels and demons that are written by non-Christians. They just don't have the same worldview I do, so I don't really care for their opinion on it, because to them, angels and demons are just fantastical creatures, not real things. So yeah, I generally don't care for it from secular authors. I mean, it can, there can be exceptions, like if something is called an angel, but it's really not. I mean, but that's not really spiritual warfare, so that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I just really like that topic. I just really like the fascinating look of what is happening, or at least an author's interpretation of what could be happening in the spiritual realm around us. It just makes me think more about what's going on around me that I can't see necessarily, but it is very much real. So yeah, I definitely like spiritual warfare. I like it if it's also mixed with fantasy. I have noticed a couple series that have done this. Mainly the Remnant trilogy by Angela R. Watts. That one, she had a huge spiritual warfare aspect in it that I really liked. The other one that had kind of a lesser one is Dragons of Starlight by Brian Davis. That one has a little bit of the spiritual, not really spiritual warfare, so to speak, but like spiritual realm stuff. So yeah. Then I have dystopian, which was a hot genre like a long time ago when the Hunger Games first came out, but it's not really done much anymore, which is kind of disappointing, because I really like dystopian. I like the idea of it. I like the whole, take down the horrible government thing. I really like that plot line, and just, yeah, I really like the idea of just taking certain things that are happening in our world today, putting it in the future, and being like, blowing it up, and just saying, this is what could possibly happen if we keep going down this road, which is kind of what makes dystopian scary a little bit, but, at the same time, it's also like, well, raise awareness of what is going on, because the world needs to wake up. So yeah, I really do enjoy it. I even just like slight dystopian things, like manga series Library Wars, that is just a slight dystopian thing, because it's not truly dystopian. It's just with the idea of censorship in media and stuff like that, and not having the freedom of speech and stuff like that. So it's a little bit, but the rest of it is just basically like modern day Japan. So it's not like really, really sci-fi type, but it has that dystopian flavor to it. So yeah. So things like that too work for me as well. But yeah, I really do like that genre. I really wish there was more of it out there, especially young adult dystopian. That was like the best stuff. But yeah, there's just not a lot of it out there now, or at least being published now, which is sad. The next two kind of go together, but I'm gonna do them as two separate things. Next one is superheroes. I've realized ever since I've started watching the Marvel movies, like couple years ago or so now, I have noticed I really do enjoy the superhero genre. There's not a lot of it outside of like movies and obviously the comics and stuff, but I have not read the comic books. And thinking about trying them out sometime, but there's so many of them and I don't know where to start, so it's very intimidating. But I do like the superhero genre. I like the idea of people with superpowers and just saving the world, and good versus evil, stuff like that. Yeah, I just really like that. But yeah, there's just not a lot of novels, surprisingly, with superheroes in them. There's a few that I definitely want to try, and I have been reading like H.L. Burke's whole superhero universe. I've really enjoyed her books. There's a couple others out there. There's Brandon Sanderson's series, which is the Reckoners trilogy, I think it's called. The first book is Steelheart. But yeah, I have that one. That's kind of like, I think, more of a super villain plotline, and the normal people are fighting them, but still, it's kind of that idea. The only other one I can think of is a title called We Could Be Villains. That's a superhero book. I haven't tried that one. I do want to try that one, but yeah. Just there's not a lot of novels about it. They're more comic books or movies. So the next one kind of ties into the superheroes, and that's characters with superpowers or magical abilities. I just really like that. I've always been drawn to those types of storytellings with like fantasy and stuff with like light bits of magic and stuff like that, where people have these powers and stuff like that. Elemental magic is really, really cool. I really like those especially. But yeah, I definitely just really like it. I guess I just like the idea of just having these powers and this magic and being able to use it for good, and then like what happens if it's used for bad from like the villain's perspective. Definitely like it when Christian authors stick magic and magical abilities in their stories, and they use it to highlight faith elements in a way that is like mundane otherwise if you just state it as, you know, regular faith or what have you. I don't really have a clear line of what that looks like because a lot of Christian fantasy books don't have the magic system in it and stuff like that, or don't have magical abilities and things like that, which I think is a shame because there are so many ways you can use that to show faith elements or just different ways of highlighting good and evil by using that in a more, it's more of a, it's like a shorthand way of doing it, just like showing it that way. Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it because I've seen it done a few times and I really like it when it does. Dragons of Starlight, that series I previously mentioned, that was one of the first ones I read where you could definitely see the faith elements and stuff like that Brian Davis was putting in to like what the dragons were doing and some of the powers that the characters had and stuff like that. And yeah, I just really like that because it lets me see my own faith in a different perspective. I've tried to do a similar thing in my own stories that I'm writing, my Creaturely Chronicles series. It's a young adult Christian epic fantasy. I'm trying to do that. It's more in the second book because the first book, not many people have their powers yet. It's like they manifest later on. But I do have a character who, when he gets his power, without giving too much away, I tie it into like his faith journey and stuff. To just keep it more succinct, there is one particular battle where the doubts of the devil basically start getting to him and his power starts weakening. It basically is mirroring the way his faith is currently, and the more faith he has, the more powerful he is, because that is what is fueling his power, is basically his faith and his trust in God. And when the devil starts getting to him, I use that to show his power getting lower and his defenses going down, so then the devil has more access to him to harm him. And I like that idea of using magic to show faith in a way, or different abilities and stuff like that, just to show it in a more natural way that doesn't feel forced or preachy. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of potential there, and I'm really sad that a lot of Christian authors aren't using that. I know some people have problems with magic, and that is perfectly fine if you have an issue with that. But for the people who don't, I just would really wish to encourage them to just use it. Use that, way of showing abilities and stuff that to show faith and more like spiritual things and stuff like that, because it's definitely a outlet you can use, and I just don't think it's being utilized enough. Anyways, now that I'm off that soapbox, let's just move on to the next thing. That is friends to lovers. This is a romantic trope. I actually do like this one. Most romance tropes, I generally either don't care for or I'm just indifferent to. I care more if the story's well written, but I have generally noticed I like friends to lovers. Those generally seem to work for me. I just really like those and stuff like that. So yeah, that one. And also I have forbidden romance, forbidden love, forbidden romance. Kind of like the Romeo Juliet type of thing. So yeah, their parents don't get along, their kingdoms don't get along, but they decide they're just going to love each other anyways and stuff. Has to be the right kind. There are other types of forbidden love out there that I don't condone. I'm just like, really, this is where we're going? But yeah, I do like that idea of two people just fighting against the odds to be with each other. So yeah, definitely like that one. And then we have Christian fantasy across the board. Generally, I really do like Christian fantasy. Again, if it's like really preachy or something, no, I don't care for it. But and obviously with all these, they have to be well written too, but generally if there's a Christian fantasy book out there, I will look into it and see if I would want to try it or read it or something like that. But yeah, Christian fantasy I always go for, especially if it's like medieval type fantasy. I really like just the traditional medieval fantasy thing. I know that's kind of boring, but that's what I like. Then I have one this is very, I'm not quite sure what you'd call this. It's almost a cliche, or it's just a plot trope. I'm not sure. It's the quest plot lines. I don't know. I just find that very classic fantasy to have a quest plot line, and I really like those. Generally speaking, most of those stories I really like. So yeah, I like the idea of just going on an adventure to either get to one thing, get something there, that sort of thing. But yeah, I just really like the quest plotline. I know, again, it's another one of those like cliche type things that a lot of people are supposedly tired of, but I like it. Okay, this one, I definitely, well, I have it written down as adventure over political fantasy, but also I just like action adventure type fantasy stories, not these slow, like, more politically driven type fantasies. I don't really care for those. I get confused. I get bored. It's fine if it has a little bit in it. Yona the Dawn's a good example of this because there's a little bit of the political maneuvering in the storyline, but it makes sense, and it's enough that it's like, okay, this is setting the stage of what we have to do now, or what is going on, but the author does a really good job of not dragging it out so much that I'm just like, this is what it is all the time, and I'm irritated by it, or I'm bored. So yeah, a little bit is fine, but if that's the majority of the plot line is dealing with the political side of things and the maneuverings and all that, no, I don't care. I do want the action adventure part, just like the let's go out and do something about it part, not the let's just talk about it a lot and not get anywhere. This one, I wasn't quite sure. Okay, if anyone else knows what this is, does this have a genre name or a trope name or something? I don't know what it is, but there's like okay, I'm basing these off of some movies, so I'm just gonna put the first like movie poster somewhere up here on the screen to show you what I'm talking about. There's a Journey to the Center of the Earth movie. It's this one, wherever the movie poster ends up being. I'll probably put it over here, but this movie, it's like that adventure style. I kind of almost call it an Indiana Jones-esque, but they're not looking for artifacts in that movie. But it's along the lines of that movie, the new Dora and the Lost City of Gold movie. I'll put that poster up here too. And like Indiana Jones style. It's like that adventure, you've been dumped in the middle of the wilderness. It's kind of like an adventure survival story. Is that what it's called? If anyone knows what this trope genre thing is called, please let me know, because I don't know what it is. This seems to be generally more in movies that I can see. But yeah, I like this sort of idea of like the whole survival, your adventure, you're going after something in particular, or you're trying to stop the bad guys from getting something in particular, like an artifact or a place or something like that. Like the Journey to the Center of the Earth one doesn't really count because that one is just they technically just end up in the center of the earth. Basically, Jules Verne's book is real. But it's like that adventure survival type story. Like, I like that storyline. But like I said, most of those seem to be in movies. I came across like one book series that had the potential to be that, but unfortunately I didn't like the book. I think it was Unearthed. If I can find the cover, I'll put the cover up here if I can find it. But yeah, I tried the first book, but I was so bored and I didn't care about the characters. But it had that style, that idea. But I don't know what it's called. So, but yeah, that story idea, I like that. But I don't know what it's called, and it seems to be more prevalent in movies than books. Though if anyone knows of any books that fall into this category, that don't have like love triangles and stuff like that in them, because I found a couple of them, but it's like they're either very feminist driven, which I don't care for, or they have love triangles in them. Like the couple I found, it's just like, really? You had to ruin it with that. But yeah, anyways. But yeah, if anyone knows what that's called, please drop it in the comments, because I'd be curious if adventure survival is what that's actually called, and if so, it seems like a strange genre or trope name, but you know, there's been worse things, so who knows? What do I know what I'm talking about? Then the next one is mental health. I if for anybody who's been following me for a while, you may know I have depression and stuff like that. So I like reading books about characters who are struggling with the same things so I can find healing. Okay, sorry guys, my camera cut off and I had to make sure it saved the previous 22 minutes that I had just filmed, because yeah, I had a timer going on my phone, I film on my phone, apparently it just cuts the camera off. Didn't know that, now I do. So, anyways, what I was talking about with mental health, I'm pretty sure it caught, but I don't know if it caught on camera. Anyways, I have depression, so, I do like reading books about characters with similar, like, mental processes and stuff like that, similar problems with, like, depression, anxiety, PTSD, things like that. And I find a lot of healing in those types of books, a lot of more understanding and, you know, feeling like I've been seen and stuff like that. So I definitely like reading about that. It depends on the author and how they portray it, of course, because sometimes they can portray it in a very negative light or in a very, like, unhealthy, or they keep it really, really depressing all the time, and it's just like, no, there has to be hope in it somewhere. But yeah, the mental health, mental illness, awareness type books, yeah, I generally really, really like those. And my last one I have on here is genre mashups. This is like if you, for example, if you like combine, say, dystopian with spiritual warfare or something like that. Different combinations of genres put together, or like what Trisha Mingering did with the Blades of Actar. She combined like a Wild West setting, American Wild West setting, with medieval fantasy, and she put them together. There aren't too many of these. Also, fairy tale mashups work for this genre too. Like, you stick two fairy tales together in the same story, like, say, Jack and the Beanstalk and Rapunzel or something like that, and you combine the two tales. I do like that. I really like the creativity behind either putting two genres or two fairy tales together and having them complement each other and pull out different things in each other, things like that. Yeah, I do know there's one book out there called Ignite, that basically she combined superheroes with a dystopian setting. So, and things like that, where it's two different things put together. Actually, speaking of the superhero genre, a good example of this from one of the Marvel movies would be Captain America: The Winter Soldier. That one's basically the superhero storyline, basically with a political thriller. It's definitely something I really, really like when done. It's not done that often, so yeah, but I really do like it when that creativity is in there, and yeah, it's just another thing that if it pops up, I'm definitely going to look into that book if it has that. That's it. Those are all my book buzzwords. If I have more, I might make a part 2 to this at some point. I definitely would have to have more than this. And yeah, let me know if you guys would like to see an anti-buzzwords. Everybody who's been following me probably knows the first one that's going to go on there. But yeah. But if anyone's interested in that type of video, please let me know down below in the comments, or any other video suggestions and ideas that you have. I kind of need some different things to pull from, so yeah, if you guys have any suggestions or want me to see want to see more of something from me, please let me know. I will be trying to do more reading vlogs. I'm just gonna put that out there right now, but I just haven't been reading a ton recently, and I haven't been reading books that it's like, I'm not sure what I'd do with this in a reading vlog, because I'm going through a lot of my books still, and a lot of them are just like older, like middle grade horse type books or something, so it's like, I'm not really sure this would be very interesting as a reading vlog, but if it would be, let me know in the comments, because yeah, I definitely value you guys' input and your suggestions. So yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I grabbed my hair. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and all my book buzzwords. Feel free to leave some of yours down below in the comments, or if you know of any books that fit what I've mentioned in this video, I'd love to hear about them and hear from you guys in general. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!